Welcome back to another episode of the inner game of real estate success, the show that gives you the tools to master your mind, close with confidence, and thrive in both business and every other aspect of life. My name is Paul Salter. I'm a mindset and performance coach, a credentialed hypnotherapist, and I use hypnosis to help my clients get unstuck out of their own way so they can unlock their full potential. And I do this by helping them not only identify, but dismantle the destructive patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving that keep them stuck in the perpetual cycle of 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. The last Thursday of every single month, I'm privileged, I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to join you on this show to dig into the deep work, the parts of yourself, the beliefs and behaviors within that you repress, avoid, or deny that are truly causing damaging, destructing patterns of self-sabotage. So I can empower you not only with the awareness, but the tools and the perspective shifts needed to get out of your own way and achieve your potential. And in this conversation, I want to have an honest, open, and vulnerable conversation about the word balance. And this conversation is coming from someone who spent the better part of his career thus far working at least 70-hour weeks, constantly operating with the belief that more is better. That if I just worked a little bit more, if I just tried a little bit harder, I finally get that breakthrough. I finally hit that next financial milestone, land that next big life-changing client. And it costs me dearly. And my goal in this conversation today is to talk about both ends of the spectrum, the consequences of having absolutely zero balance, complete destructive obsession, addiction, if you will, versus trying to please and satisfy everybody, trying to fit the mold of the world or society's definition of the word balance. And I want our conversation to begin on the end of the spectrum that deals with zero balance, that is just complete, absolute burnout. And before we do that, I want to help you really understand what's taking place here. I want to begin to paint the picture. And when I'm talking about complete addiction, I'm very, very intentional with this word choice. I'm using addiction rather than obsession because addiction implies a lack of control. It's the only way. You are constantly going, doing to hopefully get a fix, a brief, momentary glimpse, taste, or experience of peace, fulfillment, being seen, heard, validated, or understood. So you keep going. And we talked about in a previous episode, a previous conversation, I believe it was last month, which means September, about how many of us high performing individuals are so wired to believe that our results are a direct representation of our self-worth. And I talked at length about how that pattern of believing and behaving is formed in that last conversation. It's one you're definitely going to want to listen to. It came out the end of September 2025. But in this context, it is a deep knowing that you are constantly pushing, doing. You are somebody who works the 60 to 70, the 80-hour weeks, who is a shell of him or herself when it comes to showing up as a significant other in your relationship, showing up as a parent, showing up for yourself, satisfying any of the prerequisites under the umbrella of self-care. You are so out of balance. You are imbalanced, addicted, detrimentally obsessed, pouring all of your time, energy, and effort into this one area of your life, your career, your profession, that so many other areas of your life begin to suffer. You begin to experience dire consequences. And the pattern that emerges over time includes tense, stressed or strained relationships with your romantic partner, with your parents, your siblings, your children, your close friends, maybe even your coworkers and colleagues. There is an emerging strengthening pattern of a lack of self-care, attention to sleep, diet, exercise, stress management practices. And you continue to operate with this belief that this thing, achieving this financial milestone, this number of closings, this number of deals or properties secured, is the only thing that matters. And I think it's really important to recognize that when you continue on this path, operating at 1,000,000 miles an hour without the ability to calibrate when, how, and why you sprint versus slow down, when you crank up the intensity of your output before ultimately scaling back so you can repeat this pattern in a sustainable manner, there are some real physiological changes taking place in your brain when you continue to push closer and then attempt to operate from a state of burnout. The imbalance that you have created as your default operating system is not doing you any favors. This type of behavior over the long term literally causes a rewiring of the very systems in your brain that once made you elite. When your stress becomes chronic, your nervous system stops distinguishing between a mere rejection or failure of a deal and a tiger hiding around the corner in the bushes. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, chemicals designed for survival, not sustained performance. Again, over time, operating from this strong, perpetual imbalance, inevitable state of burnout, dulls the very systems that once made you elite. The prefrontal cortex, for example, which is responsible for focus, creativity, and decision-making, slowly but surely begins to go offline. Your limbic system, which governs emotion, emotional regulation, it becomes overactive, amplifying frustration, anxiety, and irritability. Your dopamine system, which fuels motivation, and flatlines, leaving you uninspired, drained, and numbed. And I know this is resonating with you because you're easily able to recall the periods of your life where you've just grinded and grinded and grinded, inevitably suffering some, and I am using air quotes here, mysterious illness, sickness, injury. And it's forced you down for the count for a week, 2, maybe 3. And you still haven't gotten the message that the universe is trying to send to you. That there needs to be some form of calibration in play where you intentionally sprint and then you pull back. Because if you continue to grind and grind and grind, what's left? I mean, think about just grinding and grinding away at a stone. Inevitably, all that's left is dust, nothingness. Yet society and social media in particular convinces you that it's a badge of honor to grind and grind and grind. But perhaps it's time to consider that that's a facade, that the best of the best, the top performers in every industry, of course, they have a tenacious work ethic, a ruthless and relentless and resilient ambition. But the reason they've been able to sustain significant success for an extended, significant period of time is their ability to buck the notion that they have to be addicted and imbalanced. And instead, they choose to be aligned. And we're going to come back to that word alignment later on here. But rather than being balanced, I wonder if you can begin to open your mind, open your heart to instead being aligned. Because the truth is, the more you operate out of balance, imbalance, on the verge of or stuck in a perpetual cycle of burnout, the more prone you are to making reactive, emotionally charged decisions. You tighten up, you say yes to things you know you should decline, and slowly but surely, You lose the ability to see clearly, to think strategically, or to feel genuinely fulfilled. And this is the real cost of imbalance, not just fatigue, but disconnection. You lose touch with yourself. You lose touch with your intuition and the joy that made you want to get better and grow your business in the first place. So there's got to be another way, because I know you may be listening and hopefully parts of what I'm sharing with you are resonating. Yet you also recognize your industry and your goals demand excellence, demand high quality output, consistent high quality output. And society has taught you to this point that there's only one way: more equals better. If I want more money, more deals, more relationships, I need to work more, call more, and close more. And there are so many elements of truth wrapped up in those statements, but more is not always the answer. Because when you are continuing to pour more and more and more into this one particular area of your life, you continue to neglect more and more of the other areas of your life that serve as the foundation that allow you to build a successful and sustainable empire on. And that's the mistake so many of you are making. You are operating on a foundation made out of a house of cards. And it can be gone in the blink of an eye, that catastrophic illness or injury, because you're not taking care of yourself. That horrendous divorce, strained relationship with the people that matter most in your life, fallout with your business partner, your investing group, because you're so burnt out and imbalanced. Yet again, you need to work hard. You need to have this tenacious work ethic. In fact, one of your superpowers that's allowed you to have the success you've had here today is that tenacity and that ambition. But I'll say it here once. I probably already said it multiple times in my conversations each month. Your superpower inevitably will become your kryptonite. And your next level upgrade is not only bringing awareness and acceptance to this, it's learning how to calibrate on demand when and how to sprint versus pull back, so that sustainability and longevity allow you to keep going and going and not only outperform, but outlast your competition. And we're going to come back to the solution here, again, focusing on this word alignment. But first, I want to explore the other end of the spectrum here. We've talked about being so out of balance, imbalanced, addicted to this one area of your life. On the other end of the spectrum is satisfying society's definition of the word balance. And I have an imagination, you're familiar with the old cliche, we've got to seek work-life balance. And I have an imagination hearing that probably frustrates you. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't align. It doesn't feel fucking good. Yet you feel compelled. So you tell your wife or your husband, okay, I'll be home by 7. No phone or no work at home. Okay, I'll be free on the weekends. I'll only work when the kids are sleeping. And you attempt to do these things you said you'll do, but there's a voice inside that just continues to grow louder. A feeling inside that just continues to eat away with you. This work-life balance, it's bullshit. It's nonsense. It's not for me. It doesn't make sense. I'm designed to go. I'm designed to leave an impact, build a legacy. I can't take vacation. I can't take weekends off. I can't be not available to my team, my clients after 6 p.m. There are deals to close, opportunities to find, people to serve and support. But you also have a wife or a husband at home that needs you, children that need you. And most important of all, you have a you that needs you. Your mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being need to be tended to as well. So what often happens is those people-pleasing tendencies, those desires to make everybody happy start to come to the surface. And you half-ass your effort to follow through on the commitments you said you would make to please all these people in your life. And the one person who's left not pleased is you, yourself, because you're avoiding the truth. You're repressing your honest truth about what you want and what you need to fulfill your purpose, to leave your impact. So the result of being overly balanced, trying to truly satisfy this mythical concept of work-life balance, is a deep sense of internal frustration, agitation, anger, resentment. And that's not a healthy place to operate from, both in your business, your marriage, and your parenting and other relationships in your life. So what's the solution here? We've experienced the consequences of both ends of the spectrum. There's got to be another way. Unfortunately, there is. And I need you to hear me very clearly with what I'm about to share with you. Every single breakthrough begins with honest communication. And that honest communication starts with you. The reason you feel incongruent, out of balance, exhausted, and overwhelmed is because of the pattern of dishonest conversations you're having with yourself. You say yes to things when you really feel and mean no. You chase goals that no longer excite you because you feel you're expected to. You pretend you can do it all, but you quietly resent just how out of alignment you feel. It's honest communication with yourself about what you want, where you're going, and what you need to get there that first and foremost restores a sense of inner harmony. And second, then allows you to honestly and effectively communicate with those important people in your life to set clear expectations. Look, if you want to have a thriving real estate, mortgage brokerage company, investment company, it's not a 9 to 5. It's just not. You know that, I know that. But if you continue to tell your significant other or your children that it is, there's a massive fucking incongruency here. So it's owning, okay, I want to, scale my company, my number of deals, my income to this amount, and being honest with yourself. This is what I want. And then acknowledging this is what it will take. And one of the best ways to get clear on what it will take is, what are the most successful individuals in your industry doing that you are not? What are the most successful individuals in your industry not doing that you are? And you can quickly begin to filter out the beliefs and behaviors you need to lock in on to achieve that goal. But you first and foremost have to be honest about what you want. Stop sugarcoating it. Stop playing small. What do you want? Do you want to have a mediocre real estate career, or do you want a thriving fucking real estate empire that changes the lives of those locally, regionally, and you can leave an impact and a legacy that extends beyond your name and your small town? What do you want? What is necessary to make that reality? And when you're clear on both of those, you can then begin to honestly and effectively communicate expectations around the time it will take, the people it will take, the resources it will take. So you can communicate with your significant other, your children, your coworkers, your colleagues, your team members. And now everybody can be on the same page. They have the honest information and they have now an opportunity to choose how to respond. Your honesty, that starts with you and then transcends to those individuals that are important in your life, empowers them with an opportunity to then make a choice. It removes any incongruency because you've been honest, and now without honesty, they can make the decision that's best for them. When you start telling yourself the truth, everything changes. Because now you begin to take ownership of your schedule, your focus, your relationships, and most importantly, your energy. You stop performing for others and you start taking aligned action. The goal here is not to seek balance in entrepreneurship. It's a bullshit concept that doesn't exist. You need to seek alignment. You need to take inspired action to achieve desired results. You need to take aligned action to accelerate achieving desired results. Alignment. Alignment exemplifies this is what I want, this is where I want to go, these are the tasks and steps and people I need to get there, and my energy and action will be poured into each of those areas accordingly to get there. When you avoid being honest with yourself, when you avoid having the honest conversation about what you want, where you're going, and what you need with the important people in your life, when you have essentially keep chasing this myth of doing it all, this cost compounds. Your stress becomes your baseline. Your relationships grow distant. Your creativity fades. Your conversation and ability to close flatlines. And the joy that once fueled your drive, it's replaced by a quiet bitterness. This is the byproduct of what happens when you get stuck in a pattern of no longer taking aligned action. Balance begins the moment that you stop lying about what's working, what isn't, what you want, what you don't want. Aligned action is your next upgrade, an opportunity to accelerate results. And I'll be candid. You might find it challenging to be honest, courageous, and vulnerable about what you want. I have an imagination that what you think you want might only be between 25 and 50% of your idea. I have an imagination that's part of what you think you should want, part of what your parents want for you, what society wants for you, or what you think society, your boss, or this industry wants, needs, or demands of you. What do you want? And the low-hanging fruit action step I have for you is this: 3 times a day, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m. I want you to set an alarm on your phone. And every time that alarm goes off, I want you to open your notes app, create a running list in this one single note, and I want you to answer the question, what do I want? And just do so with a lens of non-judgmental curiosity, and just let your mind go for 30 seconds, 90 seconds. What do I want? 3 times a day, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m. Do this for 3 weeks. Begin to observe what patterns emerge, what commonalities come to the surface. And are the actions you take aligned with what you want? And sure, some of you might experience a pattern of, I want $10 million in assets, as an arbitrary yet so common example. Do you want the money? Or do you want the freedom, the peace, the financial security, the abundance? Get incredibly clear on the emotion that you want to experience. If there is such a thing as an emotional home, what are the 3 emotions you want to come home to every morning you wake up? Is it chaos, stress, and worry? Or is it peace, fulfillment, and joy? When you're clear on what you want, you can begin to reverse engineer the actions most likely to get you there as soon as possible, and pour your energy into cultivating the beliefs necessary to habitually take aligned action. Balance is not what you seek. Alignment is the answer. Alignment allows you to achieve significant and sustainable results. I sincerely appreciate you tuning into this conversation today. I hope you found it immensely valuable. If you're picking up what I'm throwing down, you know what to do to achieve your goals, but you're still not doing it. You're stuck, you're trapped, you're afraid, you're uncertain. You're operating from an imbalanced, chronic stress state. It's not a knowledge problem you have. It's a mindset problem you have. And if you're ready to get unstuck and out of your own way, I encourage you to connect with me. Use the link in the show notes to book a mindset and performance coaching discovery call so we can begin to determine not only are we a perfect fit to work together, but what life would look like when you get out of your own way. You dismantle these toxic patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving that are holding you back. And you can lead, there's the word, a fulfilled, aligned, joyous life in your business and otherwise. Thank you again for listening. If you haven't done so already, leave a rating and review for this phenomenal podcast. The variety of incredible guests that DJ brings on is nothing short of incredible. So support the show. Leave that honest rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you're listening today. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.